Okay, I'll call tonight's meeting to order, the March 25th Rainmore Park Board meeting. First item, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's
So
meeting.
move.
So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All right, does anybody have anything they'd like to add to tonight's agenda or change? Yes, sir.
I just had a question. Was there a particular reason we're running out of order on the agenda?
Adopt the agenda, roll call. Well, I didn't see it as the fourth item. I thought it was the first one.
I just, no, just.
I didn't see it as a fourth item. I
I'm
just did it first because it's part of the agenda.
Fair enough.
Just to adopt it. I'll move it next time. Jerry will. Anybody else? Anything? Now that we've already made one change to the agenda. We're swapping for. All in favor? Okay. All right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Jerry, will you take roll call, please?
Member Manson,
Present.
Member Stidham,
Present.
Member Mays. Here. Member Roller,
Present.
Member Lewis. Present. Member Holman,
Present.
Member Eastwood,
Present.
Chairman Harris,
Present.
Director Kennedy, and the other staff are present.
Thank you, Jerry. I will call for a motion to accept the minutes from the February 17th, 2014 meeting.
So move.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? Are we requiring them to state their reason for abstention? No. I know the city does it now. That was their new deal. So 2 abstentions. Thank you. We have any public comment this evening? Nobody? All right. Committee reports. We have disc golf course design. Mr. Eric Eastwood.
Yes. Let's see. The staff and I met last Friday, March 21st, and went over some different concepts. And I had put together I guess a preliminary design, and I wanted to discuss it. The concept is basically 2 separate loops. One centered around, one starts at the skate park, loops around the pond at the entrance of Rec Park, and you can see that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. And then the second is centered around Moon Valley Park, starts at that parking lot, loops around, and comes back and finishes at that parking lot. The closest points between the 2 loops is about 1,000 feet, which is about a quarter mile, which is similar to when I showed you the Prairie Center disc golf concept. That's about the length between those 2 courses, so about a quarter of a mile between the 2, which isn't ridiculous. It's something that you could. Now, one of the things that I'm considering now, if we like this concept, is how do you number the holes, and do you make it one continuous and you start at Moon Valley, or do you keep it 2 separate 9s? But that can be discussed later. Some of the particulars about each that I'd like to go over. Let's see. The first loop, which is around the Rec Park Pond, the one benefit to that is that it can be installed very quickly. It's generally a shorter course. Will all be par 3s, so it'll be total par 27. We'll have to paint a couple of crosswalks across the entrance there, just for safety reasons. Shouldn't be an issue. Let's see. I talked to Steve about planting trees, which I had possible locations for trees located there. Those are added from since when we talked, so I don't know if I went overboard or not, but I was just throwing out what I would want. But we can discuss that with Steve and work out what's possible, what's But generally, the concept that I show here is what I presented with a couple of minor changes. I would like on this proposal is I want a couple of shorter pads, mainly for the water holes, so that beginner players don't have to throw over water, that they will go parallel to the water. As you can see, is the dotted lines, and then some of the holes, if I stretch them out a little bit longer, I'd want to have a shorter pad for beginner players, and those are on holes 2 and 4. It will include 2 practice locations, so there'd be 2 practice baskets on each course or each loop, and I've got one over there just to the east of the skate park parking lot for that first loop. The second one is going to take a little bit more time to install, and a lot more work, just based on the few things. One, it's a lot more heavily wooded, and the main concern I have is poison ivy. If you've ever been around that area, you know it's soaked with it. So we talked with Steve about spraying that. No. Okay, Steve says no, but that's something that we'll have to talk about and be addressed and do something with that. There will need some additional mowing, like around what I've got as hole 10 and 18, but generally most of the native grass that's out there, most of it will be retained, which is something that when I talked to park staff that they really had a strong desire, which one of the options or design concepts that I had really fit within that. So you just have to mow a little bit or more around 10 and 18, and there's some other areas along there that we'd have to kind of clean up around the trees, but generally it's not a lot more additional mowing. What's some other things? Fairways, which primarily along the creek, we wouldn't really start those until I can identify where all the poison ivy is, and see what we can do there. But I may start, depending on what action happens after this discussion, start clearing out dead limbs, dead branches, dead trees, sort of things that are there, and piling those up. Let's see, bridges. I've got some bridges there. There's one over on the southeast corner on the top left. There's already one there, and but that one will have to be a more permanent structure. If you've been back there, it's kind of a temporary thing, but we may have to have a couple of other footbridges like that, and I've got a couple places possibly lined out there, depending on where exactly how the creek is lined out of that little ditch. We may have to address that. So there may need to be 2 or 3 little bridges to cross. Let's see, drainage. There was an issue there in the southeast corner of the loop. If you know, it's all swampy there. Talked to Steve about what we would need to do to fix that. We talked about have a catch basin and then trying to funnel it. There's a lot of erosion that's going on right there now, and I think if we don't address that, it's going to eventually reach that that walking trail. So we're going to have some problems there if we don't address this issue anyway. So so that's another issue that we needs to be addressed. Then basically put in baskets, pour T-pads, and work on signage. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have several questions. The baskets on the front 9, that I'm gonna say are 1 and 9 and 2 and 3. How close are they what's the proximity to the road?
Through the
Are
road?
we have people that potentially are gonna be throwing into the road, or in either case.
Well, whatever the distance is between they would have to really miss.
Are you talking about 1 and 9? They would have to really miss, because you've got
Yes.
it on the other side of the sidewalk
That's
on
right.
9.
Right.
I mean, are we
I
talking?
mean, is it possible to throw in the road? Yes. There's a ditch, you gotta go down and then back up.
Okay. And then the same question with 2 and
on
3, how close
2
are we to
and
the road pulling
3,
into the park?
They're closer to the water.
They're closer to the water than they are to the road.
Right.
And then you're also proposing right there on those 2 double lines, are those additional bridges you're proposing?
No, those are crosswalks.
Okay.
Those would just be
Okay.
painted crosswalks.
Okay.
to cross with the reflective paint.
Okay.
Are those crosswalks, do they happen to be near our, speed bumps? That'd be very convenient. Very
Yeah.
convenient.
They can be. I just, it's concept, it's proposal.
I do have one question on the back nine.
Yep.
Hole 13, there has been discussion of clearing up that area of grass for additional soccer fields. If that's the plan, could you redesign this
I could.
to go maybe closer to the crosswalk? I assume that's the direction you want to go.
You can kind of see it there. So,
I
sorry,
thought that was sand.
big rock.
Big rock. Hey, here's another question in that map, and maybe this is for you guys. In the bottom right corner, that little triangle grass back there, that's not ours, is it?
Yes, it is.
That is.
That
Yes.
is ours, but it
That's-
is full of dirt.
Yeah, there's infilled dirt
Just
there.
dirt.
So if you guys,
Lots of it.
if we decide to move soccer fields in where 13 is, then we would probably have to use some of that land within that triangle, which then has to be within where there's dirt now from the infield projects.
Steve, were you good with this, with no trees taken out, no big trees?
It looks pretty good to me. There may be a couple trees that he wants added that we can talk about, but we discussed it, and I think he took everything into consideration that we talked about. So I think we can make it work.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr.
Number 9, could you reverse that? So that the basket to which you throw is not as close to the road. Could you reverse it?
You could, but you're trying to start 9 where you end 8.
Well, yeah, I realize that. I was just a suggestion, if we feel
Usually you
that
try
that
to
is too
try
close
to end a hole, or you try to start a hole where
Right.
you ended one.
Yeah,
Could you make 8 longer where it's closer to the start of 2 and bring in, and have 9 come backwards?
The problem is that where that is very swampy wetlands.
Oh.
So like it's almost impossible to throw over that, other than if you completely threw over it and had to walk around it. I guess it's possible.
Tim, do you have a question?
I did. My only concern with this whole thing, I think it's a good plan, first of all. Around the lake, you've got one basket on the northwest corner, and then you're going 3, it looks like you're wedging it across that same corner. If discs go in the water, will these players actually try to go into the water to retrieve those? And seriously, what's our
Well,
liability?
there's retrieving devices that you can buy. They're called a golden retriever. That's what it's called.
But
Is that a
well,
joke
my,
for a
my,
dog?
my question is, are we gonna be faced with somebody, some yahoo
So-
going, lopping through the water out there to get a disc? I mean, there's gotta be some liability incurred with that.
It says no swimming.
that's a very short.
I don't think there's any more liability than there is today.
I saw kids
Someone
walking out
swimming.
when it was frozen.
Hey, let me ask you
They're
a
not
question.
supposed to do that either.
Do these
There's a
discs
sign.
float?
Okay.
Some do.
Some do.
Yep.
Ooh.
I might add on this that the good thing about 3, when he's going over the water, there is an alternate pad that you can walk around.
Yeah.
That's what that dotted line is. That there will be another pad, kind of like what I was joking around with Eric, the women's tee. That it's always up closer than the men's tee on a regular golf tour, or most of the time, that they could walk around there and tee off from, that way they wouldn't be thrown over the water.
I'm not so much concerned with that one as I am the basket right there, and with the wind, any kind of.
Well,
Well,
where it'll
basket
be.
isn't quite, it's
Yeah,
not
it's not
right
quite
on
there.
the lake.
Yeah, that'll be actually there. It goes uphill, so that's one thing, and it'll be underneath that tree that's right there on the corner that you can hardly see because of the lines covering it.
Okay.
So the tree protects the other tee pad for one, and you're also throwing uphill, which is more difficult to get distance when you're throwing uphill.
If I could make a suggestion, Eric, maybe the next step would be to go out and flag the course,
Yep.
both the tee boxes and the pins or the baskets. And then we could, anybody that would like to come out, we could set a little meeting and just walk the course. Everybody
that's-
could kind of get a perspective that way.
Yeah, my conclusion does this concept seem viable? I mean, besides some tweaking or some things that are, that, may need concerns where it's too close, where you bring it in a little bit, or, try to have some sort of safety aspect to it, that we change. But yeah, that the flow is generally complete at this time, and then I would mark with flags where the starting and end point is, and then we can walk through with staff and anybody else on the park board who wants to take a look at it firsthand to see how it looks.
We need to have a grounds committee meeting anyway, why don't we do that? And then
Good.
anybody else that wants to come along can do
Yep.
that.
Let me ask you your opinion on this. We're looking at a possible 18 holes.
Yep.
Are these tournament playable holes,
Absolutely.
even with the distance between 9 and 10?
Absolutely. Not an issue. In fact, it'll be a little easier when you do tournaments because you usually do shotgun starts. We've got multiple parking lots that we can use, and people
Yeah.
can drive over, park at those closest to the holes that they're trying to get to, and then walk to those holes. So,
I think it looks nice. I think it's a good concept.
Yes, sir.
Just a question around the signage.
yep.
What is the signage gonna be? Is it gonna be on each of the tees, or is it gonna be just one stand at the?
It's
Uh,
not
first-
defined yet. I think Steve would prefer not to have each hole have its own sign, just because that's another thing you have to weed eat and maintain. We talked about maybe within the concrete tee pad that you actually stamp the hole number and the yard or the feet. And then we would have, the signage that I was talking about would probably be at the front end of each loop that has the map and then rules, what do or don't do, do's and don'ts, Typically, they've got a little pocket where you can pick up scorecards and, maps and things like that if we wanted to put those up.
So I guess my question is only in relation to like hole 9. I could see a person getting to the first hole and then thinking that the second tee is 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great layout. I just would want signage to make it clear.
Yeah, well,
Like, if it's possible to put like numbers on the tees.
typically, would you have a basket to point you in the right direction of the next hole? Usually, again, in the concrete, you can have an arrow stamped in which direction you're supposed to go. So if you just turn right and walk to it and find the right pad. The baskets that I'd like to order are the Innova disc catchers, which also have a reflective or vinyl stickers with the numbers on them. And so it'll say, that's hole 1, that's hole 9. So,
Would those be within 25,000?
yes.
Okay, great.
Did you check, Steve, whether or not they were on your,
I haven't been on there yet, but I plan to do it this week.
yeah. So the question is whether or not you can order them directly from what is the source, or what is it? What is it called?
We have a couple options, and one of them is called the Buy Board. It's a group membership for municipalities and stuff to purchase items, and sometimes we can do that without having to go out for formal bid.
One other question too, and this is more to the staff. Beyond us taking a look at the course, do we need to have anybody official come out and tell us that we are in safe distance from that street? Like even for hole 1, but especially for the 9th hole, just to make certain that we're good. Because I could give a decision, but it might not be valid.
There's not gonna be any ordinance, if that's what you're asking, but it's just well within common sense, because there's not gonna be anything that says that it should be 25 feet off the street center line or anything like that. So that's why I kinda wanna flag it, because that
Yep.
way we'll get a really good idea as to what we are. And what's really nice about this is we put this in, it comes out to be a problem, we pick the basket up and move it.
Yep.
And that's what's really kind of makes this unique. Can't do that on a golf course. You can't
Yeah,
move
the
green.
sleeves, the replacement sleeves are $25 plus the cost of concrete. Then tee pads are a little bit more expensive if you don't use the tee pad that you poured, if you have to re-pour a new tee pad, but that's just the cost of concrete, which is, fairly small, insignificant cost if you have to move it. So for example, if we do add additional soccer fields over there by 13, and we want to flip that or move it, add another hole somewhere else, that's easily done. So, the other thing I was going to mention on the bridges, that might be a good Eagle Scout projects. We always have those come through. That might be a good idea for some things like that. I think that's generally. Any other discussion? Jay?
One thing that I would like to see, you did a great job on this. I think it's a nice layout, good use of the space. Mine would be more directed towards public safety of vehicle traffic inbound and outbound. I'd want additional signage in advance of those crosswalks because, and I'm as guilty as anybody, my son's got a 7 o'clock start game and we're running late and I don't see anybody in sight and I'm hot footing it through there. And I know I'm not the only one and I'm not the worst violator. And maybe that in conjunction with either the existing speed bumps or maybe some rumble strips or some bumps or something there, just kind of wake people up, hey, and maybe even a small sign for the golfers, you know, be aware of traffic before you check. It's basically, you know, there is a speed limit, but people, you know, we got to watch out for safety is all. That's, other than that, I think it looks great.
I think it's too.
Right, I think walking will help it too, and maybe even taking some disc when we walk to see how valid it is. I mean, if somebody throws from one to the tee box, but they only make it halfway, and then the halfway they throw into the street and hit a car. I mean, that's kind of stuff that we'll figure out when we're. I can't throw a frisbee straight, so. Yes, sorry.
So just me throw.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll start flagging and giving recommendations. And if we do shorter pads in some cases, that helps that a little bit more. I mean, if I keep it within their range, the ones that can throw that far have good, fairly, you know, can have better control. So,
Understand.
yeah.
I have one question for staff. Holes 4, 5, and 6 include putting some trees and some, are the tee boxes concrete?
Yep.
So we're talking about concrete tee boxes out in that area. That is overflow parking for Festival in the Park, or 4th of July, sorry, 4th of July.
Those are usually installed flush to the ground, the concretes are. I mean,
Yeah, but the trees aren't.
no, I know.
I'm just saying, they, this is one of the areas I have brought up for thoughts for a dog park, and they fought me because it was overflow parking. This interferes with your overflow parking.
For that
Is it
day.
an issue? Is it not an issue? I mean, I don't know how much is used for overflow parking. I'm not out there, but I do know it's used.
Like Eric said, that the tee pads and the or the tee boxes or whatever, they are flush with the ground. That's not going to be a problem for the overflow parking. The trees, we hadn't discussed the trees, and just like I said a while ago, there's a couple trees on here I'd have to talk about, and that's 4, 5, and 6 right there because it would affect our parking.
Okay.
So, for the most part, no, it's not going to bother anything.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yes, sir.
I just had a comment. I think we kind of took it for granted. I know that I did because of Eric's expertise with this, but thank you. I mean, you saved us some money and you saved us some time, and this is a lot of work that you're doing for free, and I think it's a great way to save the taxpayers some money, and it's a big help to us. Thanks a lot. I appreciate what you did with this, Eric. Thanks.
Thanks.
Now we get to rip into it. I'm just kidding. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. All right. We do one other committee report, although everybody may be caught up, is Budget Committee met last, the 19th, I guess, a week and a half ago. I wasn't there. We do have a written report everybody got. One of the things we discussed was the additional $50,000 we got in this budget year for from the city general fund. If we need to go any more discussion, we can. I think we just report on that, and obviously everybody was there. We reported on CIP. No new people tonight. So public is aware we're making progress in that regard. Just wanted to touch a note on that. So we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. McLean, would you like to start, please?
Yes, thank you. As you can see in my report, with March on us here, it has been a very busy month with spring and summer sports starting. We closed our registration. We actually extended the registration for baseball and softball due to moving back soccer and volleyball as well with spring break this year. And so we readjusted a little bit to make sure we had adequate numbers. With that said, we're just shy of 500 with baseball and softball, which is a little above and beyond what we had last year. So we saw growth in that. We saw growth in soccer. So we are very excited to have that. Competitive baseball, we have 2 teams that are machine pitch, which was exciting because we have not had that in the past as well. So competitive, we are meeting this Thursday with the coaches to go over the league and where we're at with things. We are going to be starting on those as Rec Park is, and I'm sure Steve's going to touch base with the ball field improvements. We are preparing for the start of baseball season and getting all that lined out with practices and games. So looking forward to that season rolling out. This Saturday is the start of volleyball and soccer rec leagues. Staff has been working with getting all the equipment together. We had to order some new, of course, with the addition of the growth of the sports. So we got that put together and been distributing it as well. We had, I know I mentioned at the last meeting that we had a presentation at our state conference this year. That presentation went very well. It was with the South Metro Sports Group. We had very good reviews of that, and we actually have a lot of people interested. We actually have a group out of north up by Cameron that want to start to pick our brains a little bit on how we do it, how it got started, and how we're moving forward with it to try something up north of Kansas City. So we're excited to have that opportunity to even work a little bit beyond our group here and help them maybe get started on something like what we do with our rec and competitive sports. We also have met with rules meetings. We've had quite a few meetings over the last few weeks with all these sports, starting with this time of year. Multiple meetings, staff has attended, myself. In particular, we've talked to Challenger Sports. We're setting good for our summer camp that we do, a soccer camp with them, and we're on the track of advertisements with them. Those are going out to the schools very soon. Got approval today actually with that, so we're moving forward with our plan on that. I met with a Comet player that wants to do indoor soccer camp coming into the fall, so looking at that possibility, and it's looking very good. So they have brought some very neat, I would call, ideas to the table with indoor and the challenges of working at an indoor facility, especially around here with gyms not having a normal soccer indoor stadium type or indoor turf and stuff to that nature. So working on that, looking at that for the fall. Also been continued meetings with the baseball and softball tournaments that we're planning on hosting this year, and we're getting all the logistics lined out for that and moving forward, as well as looking into the competitive soccer program. Met with a couple different organizations on that, and I'm hopeful that I'm moving forward on getting something lined out, and I will update accordingly. Nature Quest went well this month. They did map reading, topography, and elevation. And then, of course, special events. Jerry Lynn has been working very hard on getting these special events rolling out for the spring events. We have Touch a Truck this weekend, Saturday morning, out at Rec Park. We have the Easter Festival, of course, at Memorial Park on the 19th. And then she's started all of her preparations for Jog With Your Dog on April 26th. So we definitely have some special events hitting within the next month. So that's where we're at on the rec side. Thank you. Any questions?
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the numbers that you have in baseball and softball, 490 individual participants. You don't mention about the volleyball. How many people do you have there?
Volleyball, I believe we have 14 teams.
14 teams?
Yes.
And what about soccer?
Soccer, we had 46 teams. So
40?
46 teams,
Really?
yes.
Wow,
So,
that's a lot of people.
But you
I
can
think
still
I had
count
those
them by
numbers on the last
participants
one.
though, right? Because they don't bring a full team.
no, they do not. We do have the participant numbers. I think that I mentioned briefly on that last month because we had finished registration. But yes, that's how many teams we ended up with.
What are we running on volleyball per team? Do you have, I mean,
Around 8
okay.
is where we've been at, 7 to 8.
So we've got right around 100 kids in volleyball then.
Yeah, I think it was 96 kids, if I'm not mistaken. It was 96 in volleyball, and our numbers with soccer were pretty close to the same as baseball. Not quite, a little shy, 470 maybe.
That's a lot, that's,
Did we turn anybody away because we didn't have enough coaches? I know that's an issue every season too. I mean, when you start getting those late kids, like if we can get a team to put you on,
We actually pulled people off the waiting list because of coaches stepping up. We still had to draw the line, of course, because
Yeah.
we still have calls as of this week, as of today, still wanting to sign up for soccer that starts games, and we started 3 weeks ago. So, we did, but that was not the reason we had to turn down registrations. We had to have the stopping point, but we did actually we did do our waiting list. We did have coaches step up, and we pulled people off the waiting list. We did the same for baseball. We were actually sent out an email yesterday to request more coaches for baseball and softball. So right now, we have not started a list for baseball and softball that I'm aware of. Oh, we did? Okay, sorry, we do. But it's very minimal because we extended that deadline out. So we're seeing where we're at with all the numbers.
good to hear. Any other questions?
Yep. What, the discussions about indoor soccer, what are your options for a facility?
Well, we're talking about doing that at the gyms, one of the gyms at one of the elementary schools where we do futsal right now. And that is his key point, is capitalizing on that, coming off of fall season. Their interest was to bring the fall season soccer kids that are indoors for futsal, and what we can do with that, what our offerings are. And so we do the British soccer camp that is right at the end of this current soccer season that we're starting. And then this one would be kind of at the end of the fall season going into winter, so we can try to provide that indoor futsal league.
Okay.
That we started this year was our first year of having it, so it's try to build it and grow on it.
Okay.
Is indoor played off the walls?
Generally.
Yeah, it's indoor.
it's kind of.
Futsal's not
Futsal's
indoor
not.
soccer generally.
Futsal's not, but general.
Comets do.
Comets do.
Yes.
And they did pretty good this season as well.
They won the
NASL
NASL championship, yes.
Yeah. You, Mr. Holman?
I have a request. Got my Missouri Conservationist magazine. I don't know if you take that or not, but they had a program in there that I was very intrigued by, and I don't know why we couldn't either partner with DNR or Conservation Department or look at replicating something like that on their own. And I have to apologize, but it was called Learn To or Learn To Quest. Are you familiar with that? And it looked like it was actually pretty limited. I mean, you had to write an essay to get into this deal. The fee was modest. It was like $17 per camper, but there were some pretty cool things. Obviously, Tim's more familiar with it than I am, but that would be neat if we could offer something like that here. If you would just look into that and see what the feasibility might be, I think it might be kind of a neat offering. Tim, you get?
I just saw it too. I get that every month, and it was one thing that stuck out to me too, and I agree. I think it's something that it's more earned than it is given.
It's kind of a cool deal. Yeah, if
It
you, I mean,
is.
if you want to borrow, if you want my magazine, you're welcome to it. And like I said, you contact
You can have his. you can have
DOC.
mine.
It's
We all get them, so we'll
Okay.
definitely look at it and get back to you.
thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, sir. Mr. Rulo, would you like to speak now?
Sure. Sure. I also had a written report, just wanted to key on a couple little things. Two things that were not in there that staff is doing is, if you guys are familiar with there's a berm at Memorial Park just south of the sand volleyball courts, been there for years and years and years. It was always hard to get things to grow on it. It always looked tacky. There was a vinyl fence around it. Through the years, it had been vandalized enough that it needed to be taken out. So staff went in this week, or last week during their spring break, took the fence out, took the berm out. We will be planting grass seed there here in the next couple weeks. And the dirt was excellent dirt, so it's going back over to Moon Valley Park in the island that's over there by the parking lot, which we've tried to grow trees, bushes, grass, and nothing will grow. So we dug that nasty clay out of there, and we're putting the good berm dirt back in there, so we'll be able to plant some more trees to enhance that parking lot up there. So a couple little projects that they're doing with the help of Public Works letting us borrow some of their equipment. The other thing, just wanted to touch base on our ball field project. I know Tim's been down there, maybe a couple of the others have walked down there. The fields are looking great. It's coming to an end. Hopefully wanting to do a walkthrough and a punch list here in the next week. The anchors, we'll probably be setting the anchors next week, Monday and Tuesday. Kids are already practicing on it. The fields are that smooth. They still need a little bit of work from the contractor, but things are definitely, the turf was replaced on field 7, which was the one that was real bad. They dug it out, brought in dirt, and laid sod last Saturday, I believe. So things are really looking good to this project, and looking forward to the ending of it. I'll take any questions.
I have a random question, and tell me if you're not the person to ask. The diggers, that the kids play with at Memorial Park that are broken, do we fix those like often? They break all the time, or what's the long-term plan there?
The long term for those where those diggers are, that is probably going to come out.
Okay.
You're talking about in the sand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't function in there. They're like
The diggers are
dangerous.
probably going to come out. There's been a couple of them taken out already, or at least
Okay.
one of them taken out already, and I think those will be, as we're gearing up for spring here, those will be checked out, and the ones that aren't working will be
I
removed.
think they're both broken.
Both of them are, okay. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Rulo? No? I was out there tonight on, I don't know, I'm going to call it Rec Park 3 because we're going to renumber them this year. I don't know which one it is. It's the one that faces the Public Works building.
Field 6.
Yeah, and I just kind of stepped on to look at the fencing. Is that going to be compacted down a little bit? I mean, right at the edge of the fence? I mean, there's
Yeah,
kind of
the
a hill
edges-
there. It's very soft, too.
Right, the edges were just, that was the last thing that was done, so those will settle down.
Okay.
And the final grade is not there yet. It's still gonna be a week or two. We're gonna have to have a couple rains on this for it to be totally settled in. And the more we work them and the more rain that it gets, the better these fields will get. But they're definitely playable. I couldn't believe last week when they were 10 times worse than they are right now, people were playing on them, so.
Yeah, and the other question, the plugs. Will we put are the plugs in already? Did
No,
we
that's
read?
what I was talking about with the anchors.
I wasn't
base
listening, dude. I
anchors.
was reading. Sorry.
They'll be put in first next week.
Okay. I was taking notes. Any other questions? No? All right, Mr. Kennedy, you're up, please.
Very briefly, I think staff pretty much hit on the high points. So I just like to, first of all, thank all the vendors and especially these guys behind me from Public Works for Touch a Truck this weekend. They're supplying a lot of vehicles. That's going to make this a successful special event. Just like usual, without the volunteers and the support we get from other city departments, we couldn't do what we do. So just a special thanks to these guys, and if you see them out there, please tell them the same. Other than that, I'm not going to get into this. If you have any questions on what I wrote in my report or any other questions, I would like to answer those. Brian, can we switch A and B around too? So these gentlemen have been very patient.
Yeah? Yeah, we can. Do one thing. I saw in your report that you're making an application for the USTA for the youth tennis program.
Correct.
That's awesome. I like that.
Good.
I like tennis, so I'm glad to see that. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Kennedy? No? All right, then we will, no old business, we'll move on to new business, and let's start with B. And that's the Eagle Glen Trail renovation. Ooh, pictures. The easel's coming up. Thank you.
I'm Mike Krass. I'm the Public Works Director, and with me this evening is my project manager, Phil Becker. What we want to do this evening is spend a little time, go over our design concept for the Eagle Glen Trail reconstruction project that we're going to be bidding this spring. The first page of your handout kind of shows the highlights the items that we're going to be installing as part of this project. We intend to replace the asphalt trail with an 8 foot wide concrete trail. Generally, it'll follow the existing layout. There are some exceptions where we hope to be able to push it a little away. It's on the second page, and shown here on the drawing in red is the proposed layout, and where we can, we will push it closer to the stream. There will be a little bit of field design associated with it. The next page shows a couple of the items that we want to address. There are 2 flared end sections or storm sewers that discharge across the trail. There are several others that are currently under the trail. At these locations, we intend to install some rain gardens, which are shown on the next page. What we want to do is capture some of the lower flows from a inch or less storm and allow them to infiltrate rather than crossing the trail. And we've got some examples of some mature rain gardens shown, and some other plantings. We've been working with park staff to kind of match some of the other plantings that have been placed in some of the natural areas in the parks. There's also a few drainage problems that are grade related that we will address either by adjusting the grade of the trail, or if we have to, we'll install trench drain adjacent to the trail and then discharge it towards the stream. Another item we'll be installing as part of this is some pet waste stations, and then we will also, one of the things we're going to try and do as part of this project is reestablish the riparian buffer along the east side of the trail. And we'll be installing some do not mow signs. We hope to get some cooperation from folks so they're not mowing down to the top of the bank through there. We really need to establish that corridor. It helps with infiltration, it helps slowing the water down for flooding, helps with erosion. So we really need to try and reestablish that corridor there as much as we can. The last page is our proposed schedule. What we are doing this evening is just presenting the design concept to you for just kind of introduce it and see if there's any questions. Our intent would be at the park board meeting in April, we will, prior to that, send out invitations to the abutting property owners and then redo this presentation and give them an opportunity to provide input, ask questions, those type of things. We would hope to advertise this project in May, and then bring it back to you for concurrence of the award, and then present it to City Council in June, and start construction July, August, which wraps us up in September for restoration, which is a pretty good time to be doing the plantings and all of that there. I ran through this pretty quick, but I am available, available if you have any questions.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So, we're talking about doing the, rain gardens. These replace the storm outlets?
What they're gonna be is, at the locations where the storm outlets are, we hope to push the trail out a little bit. And then
Okay.
the rain gardens will be about 20 feet, 20 by 20 or so there. They would be located on the east or west side of the trail, or adjacent to the properties. But they would gonna generally be in the area where, I'm sorry, on the screen here, where you see the concrete pads.
Yep.
And so the heavy flows would still flow over the trail. The smaller flows, the incidental flows from folks irrigating that runs down the curb would be captured in the rain gardens, so we don't have a constant trickle of
Okay.
water across the trail.
And so where it comes out now, out of the drain pipe, the trail will be moved away from that?
Yes, it'll
is what-
be moved
okay.
to the east.
Okay.
Mike?
Two more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Yes.
Go ahead. You're starting this trail at Lucy Webb, and it goes to, where this...
So right near Johnson, we're just replacing the existing trail. It doesn't quite go all the way to Lucy Webb. It comes out.
Right at Eagle Glen.
Yeah, just
And the
just
pool.
north of the creek, up north of Lucy Webb, north of the creek.
Oh, okay.
It kind of on the south end comes out near where the pool, the Eagle Glen pool is.
Okay.
And then it comes out near Johnson Drive, up near Eagle
Oh,
Glen
okay.
School.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, Mark?
Considering, like, if I'm, might be incorrect on this one, but I believe when we put in some of the new the equipment that's out there for the kids to play on, that there was some negative backlash in that community about having those things in the community for some reason. My kids liked it. They enjoyed it, thought it was a good thing, and I liked it as well. But a recommendation is that the letter that we send out that starts to talk about this, that we show the positive benefits to the community and make sure that they see how this is a good thing. Otherwise, they might have the same kind of a reaction. Why are you wasting our money on this feature? Because I do believe we did get a lot of negative comments last time we tried to do some enhancements.
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, I had a follow-up to that. My question was gonna be, do we anticipate any issues? I mean, have we communicated either proactively or
We've-
enough with the
we've
people
gotten-
that it's affecting their backyards?
Sorry, ma'am. We got some questions as this project was coming about, as it was advertised in the CIP. There was some questions about location, size of the trail, those type of things. And we just felt it would be better to have, what we're patterning this after is, on my end, is the annual sidewalk program. We found it would be it's better to have the neighborhood meeting in front of the board. You're the folks that can make the changes rather than have like just an informal neighborhood meeting and try and express the concerns of the neighbors on their behalf. We did that a couple of years ago with the sidewalk project, our annual sidewalk project. We have a lot more success with that. And so that's really we will communicate the design concept and drawings as best we can. We are always available if there's any questions, if folks have that between the time they get the letter and the time it comes before you again. But I think in general, we've gotten contact, this is almost a year ago, John, just general design concepts. It was concerned about, are we gonna be closer to the properties? Are we, what are we gonna do? And as we're trying, as much as we can within constraints, we will try and push it away from the existing properties. We do know there are some encroachments. Some folks have put their fences a little bit into the park. There are some irrigation systems. We will try and work around those as best we can.
Yeah, so my follow-up to that was just, you mentioned some potential mowing issues, or I guess they already exist. So, if whatever we need to do to proactively be good advocates of whatever the message is gonna be, I think, I wanna be aware of any issues beforehand that I might confront when talking about it. But secondly, how can we help to make sure that the purpose of deterring mowing, we make sure we communicate that.
We do have that, and there's some information out from a few years ago about the maintenance and care of all of the park greenways, and we will bring that out and include it with the letters that we send out.
Yes, Mr. Sidham.
I would just say that I did meet with, I think, 3 homeowners the last time when we installed the playgrounds. And I think a lot of it's just communication. Face it, I mean, when somebody comes and puts something in your backyard, you kind of like to, some of them say they didn't know, and I mean, we did have public meetings and that kind of stuff. I would be very happy if the city would choose to do this, to address the envelopes, and I would hand carry them to that row of houses down there and deliver them and be there to answer any of their questions they have. I mean, if that would, if that would be a way to help propel this, make it easier. Again, I think it's just a communication issue and listening to the residents. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's excellent. We don't have that on
Yeah,
the trail.
there should be some on all the trails.
Yeah.
You probably step in it when you, or dodge it when you run.
Okay, so where we're talking about doing the possible new trail, and we're extending it out, we're gonna tear up the old concrete and replace it with grass,
Turf,
right?
yes. Our intent is kind of, excuse me, west side of the trail, leave kind of turf, let that be turf, landscape
Okay.
yard type turf. The east side, we'd like to work with the residents there and reclaim that as a riparian corridor.
Because they're mowing it to be grass. All right, now here's another question. In the, what I'll call the middle section there where it curves a little bit in the boomerang, as I look at some of these residents' properties, they have sidewalks right up to our trail. One has it looks like a paver path, the other one looks like it has landscape bricks right to the trail.
They do, they have every, I mean, there's fencing,
Well, I'm looking at just the section where it looks like we're gonna extend it, because the other will stay in the same path. I mean, they just responsible for that? I mean, is that just?
Well, that's something we did not ask with this, and we should, that we do need some direction on that. What would you as a board like us to do with those sidewalks? Leave them where they are, extend them to the trail? What would you like us to do with irrigation
one looks like
systems
they're
that have
just,
encroached?
right, and I heard you say that earlier. When you say irrigation systems, they go on the other side of our trail?
No, there's a little bit of area between the trail and the property lines. The trail's not set exactly on the property lines. It kind of meanders a little bit.
Right.
So there's a little bit of space between the property lines and the trail that is actually marked.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I guess I'd feel that any existing encroachment, we would not probably try to make a big change, but I don't think we should try to encourage any extension of sidewalks across park property to the trail. I mean, it needs to end at their property line as much as possible and not encourage these people. I mean, there's people that put planters and all kinds of stuff on the other side of the trail, and to me, that's gonna be one of the biggest challenges, is because they believe that that is their property because they mow it. And it's just, like Mike said, we're gonna have to educate them as to the benefits and advantages of leaving this a riparian corridor and letting it go to a natural type cycle.
And I agree with that, John, and I think that that's gonna be our challenge, is keeping them from mowing, because some of those residents will mow all the way back to the creek on the other side of the trail. So our challenge is going to be, how are we going to go about requesting, telling, or just asking for cooperation with that part, because that's a big thing. A lot of people want to see it.
Our intent would be to install signs.
Okay.
Not on every property corner, but every bend in the trail. 18-inch by 12-inch signs that say, don't mow past this point, it's a natural area. Just an educational and outreach opportunity, and just place those along like bend points in the trail or so that just
Can we
says,
just put it behind the houses that look like they obviously mow on the other side of the sidewalk? I mean, let's call it what it is.
Sure.
I mean,
Yes.
everybody's not doing it. I assume a letter would work as well. But I could see us putting it along the path, just to say, hey, you know, this is native vegetation, this is why it's there, this,
That's
its
what we-
purpose. For anybody who's walking can at least see that, because
and that's the
it's not
intent.
just here, maybe it's happening in their neighborhood also.
is to describe what's there.
Right.
Same way with the rain gardens. We
As
will-
far as sidewalks that go up to the trail, I don't want to extend their personal property to our trail, and I don't necessarily want them to be able to place a sidewalk on park property. I mean, we wouldn't let somebody come and put a sidewalk at Rec Park because they like to take the shortcut from the parking lot to the park house, you know, or wherever they're going. I do have a question on that bend right there. If they push it out as far as they say, they might be taking out a tree. You sure? I'm looking at Google Map. It looks like there's one right there next to it.
The lines on this map are representative. We would feel. My
Well,
preference would-
and this isn't obviously to scale either. Well, it is. It's every 20 feet, every half inch on the screen, but I'm just saying, now
my
that we're Tree
preference for
City
laying out-
USA, every time we do a project, that's always on my mind, so.
My preferred method of laying out,
Okay,
and my preferred method of doing a trail is to lay it out in the field, and then the contractor just connects to the lath.
okay.
Brian, I might add that the mowing has gotten 10 times better in the last 2 years. We really did not have a problem last year at all with the citizens mowing all the way to the creek. Some of them do mow a little bit on the other side because they like it more groomed than what our mowers get. But as far as the problems we were having 3 or 4 years ago where they were mowing all the way to the creek, on this area, that pretty much ended.
Well, let me ask you as part of that, because I assume they mow on the other side because they let their kids run out there and play. You know, it's just more play area for the kids. It's more yard for them to play in. Is there grant money or something? As I look more towards, this is the northern half, I guess, for trees, to line that with trees?
Sure, we have some money this year that we're spending on landscaping trees and.
I mean, I think that's a
all of-
perfect opportunity
Sure.
to put a tree every, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 feet, whatever you deem
Definitely.
responsible. But I do see some, I mean, the trees go way back past the trail that we could then kind of line the trail, not only for people who are walking, it's shade for them, but also kind of as a deterrent, so somebody doesn't think, hey, this is my property, I'm just gonna mow it down.
Correct. The majority of this trail does not have trees right off of it. The majority of the trees that you're seeing are basically in the, right off the creek. And
Yeah, on
we
the
don't
northern
want to
half,
disturb
yeah.
any of them just for the stability reasons of the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, can we transplant a bunch? I'm just kidding. He said it.
We
He
have-
made me say it.
We have trees this year. We got the grant that I told you guys about last month. We got 100 trees coming in this fall. So that's a good place to start planting trees right there.
No, I think this looks good. Thanks, Mike. I think this looks good. Anybody have any other questions? No? All right, so the plan then is, send the letter to have them come to our April 22nd meeting. So do we have, come on our April 22nd meeting, I guess we should have our plan in place of what we're gonna tell them when they show up, right? I mean, how much of, is right now the trail marking our property and over? Is that how it resides today? That the trail is on our property line?
Yeah, it's probably a foot or so off of the property.
Off of the property line, okay. So we're not encroaching on their property at all?
No.
They're encroaching on ours?
Yes.
I see the wet area up above. I assume that's the irrigation yard that we're worried about getting into the irrigation since it looks like it's wet in Google Map and everything else is dry. One of your questions was, what do we do about irrigation? The chance of hitting irrigation when we take up the concrete, is that, but that's not one, is that one we're gonna move? Is that one of the sections we were gonna
We'll
move?
be as careful as we can, and we'll ask them to come out in advance to mark all their sprinkler heads, flag them for us and stuff, and we'll be as cautious as we can. But if they're into the park with their underground irrigation, I mean, we'll work around it, but we gotta get the old trail up and the new trail in, and that means construction.
Is that on our northern side, those two little humps, is that the property line we're talking about? You- It's a good spot to do it? Okay. Just so it's not one big, long, straight line that you're walking, just give it a little something different. Okay?
If you need any assistance at all, give me a call. I'll be glad to come out and talk to people or do whatever you need to help you guys out on this.
Appreciate it.
I think this looks good. What do you guys think? Looks good? Good plan?
Okay, one
Yes, sir.
final thing, Brian. Funding for this is $182,000, and $140,000 of this came from the Public Works budget, $42,000 from the Parks budget. The reason being that Mike's doing all this work for us, other than the fact he's a great guy, flip it around.
Yeah.
All right.
40 from.
140 for us, 42 for them.
Oh, I like
reason-
the other way better.
This is a utility corridor.
Okay.
There is a sewer line that runs through here, and they have to be able to access this. That's why this trail's gonna be a little thicker than our other trails, and that's why they've had as much involvement as they have had, because they have to be able to get back there to service this for the public.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, Jay, you had a question. I'm sorry.
Just more of a comment than anything else. The arc of kind of what Mr. Krass has talked about would almost follow the procedure for a rezoning application, and he's got multiple experience in this. I have complete faith in him from my years on planning and zoning. But you guys are right on. You're spot on. The more we show empathy with the people that are attached to this area, and the more that we listen to their concerns and approach them, the smoother this project will go. You'll have typically on a situation like this, the rezoning application, you'll have anywhere from 3 to 5, if you have that many interested people that really want to know specifics about their property and how it's affected. Once you alleviate their concerns, the rest of it goes pretty simply. So you both sides are on the right track, and we've got good people working on this from your side. So
And the next
this-
time we get calls will be when the bulldozers show up.
Yeah. What's going on? That's why we have staff to answer the phones.
But there are a couple that aren't gonna be happy anyway, so.
All right. Any other questions? No? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
proceed accordingly then. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to item A, and that is the Festival in the Park MOU. If everybody read that, I don't, are there any it looks like
Very-
it's probably the same as it is
Very
every year.
limited changes at all. This is the same MOU basically that has appeared before you in previous years. Just, this is a procedure that we need to go through.
Yeah.
and Just, that's.
Probably the only thing that's been changed is dates, huh? Dates, only thing that's been changed. Anybody have any questions on this?
Are they having a beer garden this year?
There has not been a liquor application yet. Yes, sir.
Not so much a question, more of a comment that I thought last time we were in Festival in the Park and went there and talked to people about the potential Hawk Ridge Park
Yes.
plan. That was really good, getting out there and just talking with people. So I would love to consider doing that again and just having us sign up and go do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, yeah.
We are gonna have a presence, and it'd be great if you guys would like to volunteer. I think the public seeing you all, besides just staff, is a wonderful way to get the word out about Parks and Rec. So I would really, really like to do that.
Yeah, we'll talk to staff, and get a booth set aside. See if we can get some people to show up for a little bit. Any other questions? No? I'll call for a motion to go ahead and approve the MOU for the Festival in the Park
So
for
moved.
2014.
I can't.
Wait. So moved. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a first and a second. Now discussion. Yes, sir.
I had a question, and I don't see it in here, but it was basically in the proposed MOU, and it talks about the benefits to the city is outlined in attachment 3. Was that a typo, or, because I never could find it attachment 3. It may just be me. And I'm trying to find the line where it talks about that. It's just, like I said, I read through that and I was like, okay, benefits to the city in attachment 3, and then I
there
saw
is
attachment
not.
1 and 2. It's in number 1. Okay, so that was probably a typo. That's, okay. Fair enough. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss a piece of the pie. Yeah, thank you.
All right, I have a first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you much. We'll move on to item C. This is the RFQ for the RFQ Citywide Master Trail Plan. John, would you like to talk about this, please?
Thank you. You see before you tonight the request from staff to approve Viro as the design firm for the Citywide Trail Master Plan. The committee of myself, Steve Rulo, and John McLean, we reviewed 4 submittals from consultants. We were all pretty much in decision that Viro was a very good candidate. They are currently doing the Cass County bicycle plan. They have done several trail master plans for communities right around us. So one advantage to using them is that a lot of the work that would be up front in this project is already done, and they have already done it. So it will give us a better opportunity to have a bigger, more complete plan because they will not have to spend a lot of time of their energies and our funds in duplicating things that they already have on record. So I guess with that in mind, I'd answer any questions. The budget was $8,000, and miraculously they came in at $8,000. So obviously they can read. So yeah. So with that in mind, I am familiar with this firm too, and they've got sparkling references from a couple of the different parks and recreation agencies that I've talked to. So any questions you might have?
Yes, sir.
I've gotten in trouble for this before, but what the heck? It's probably my last meeting. Again, I did read the documents. Could you just give us a short summary of, this is not a complaint, not a judgment. What are we buying for $8,000? What will we get back?
In 2007, we did, Janet and staff did a master plan for the park system, and that is where the trail system that we currently have was developed. Okay, what this is, Jay, is this is an extension of that existing plan, looking at some of the development that has happened throughout the community and what future development we anticipate. This includes areas that have been designated as future parks throughout the community. The other big thing for me is connectivity to existing park systems that are not within our city borders. For example, Pleasant Hill has now, the Katy Trail is into their community. And we would eventually like to tie into that trail, try to figure out a way that through the county plan and through our plan that we would be able to get some connectivity through that. That also goes for Grandview, Belton, and possibly even Peculiar. They all have trail systems. They all have plans to develop and advance their trail systems. So it's to our advantage to try to figure out a way that we can connect to those and make us a trail destination. That's Pleasant Hill's big push right now, is they want to be known as a trail city. They are really trying to put themselves on the map since they are now tied into the Katy, and which will eventually will go all the way to Kansas City. Well, we want to be part of that too.
So will they be developing or providing us with like conceptual drawings? Is that one of the things that we'll see in the end of this, or what?
The biggest thing is to identify corridors, existing and new corridors that we could push trails through. I don't anticipate having any formal drawings, but I do expect to have some maps that will lay out some of the trail corridors that they anticipate would be good and advantageous. You know, they are not going to say you need 3 bridges or the trail should go through here or there, but they will help us identify corridors so we can plan for the future as more developments happen in our community.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? I'll call for a motion to approve the RFQ design for the master plan.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you much. And item D, the final event for tonight, is dealing with the pyrotechnical services for the Spirit of America 4th of July event. John, would you like to give some details on this one, please?
This is the RFP for fireworks for the 4th. This is a new firm to us. They have bid several times, but had not been able to get it. We checked out this firm. They, again, had very good references. They have been a repeat vendor for several communities for a number of years. They actually bought a firm down in Pittsburgh, Kansas that I was very familiar with because I used to shoot for them years and years ago, called Fireworks Spectacular. So I did talk to a couple of the guys that I know down there that still work for them, and they said, yeah, these guys have been a great outfit to work for. $11,000 is what we have budgeted. In the new proposed budget for the additional funds that we got from the general fund, I have requested an additional $5,000. I did talk to the vendor if there would be any difficulty, and his comments were, well, yeah, it's going to be very advantageous because you won't be paying for additional insurance, you won't be paying for additional transportation costs, and you won't be paying for additional shooter fee. You'll just get $5,000 worth more of fireworks if you so desire. Other than that, I could answer any questions you have, but I checked these guys out and they look very solid.
I don't know if we saw it. I don't think we saw the actual agreement. I just am trusting, I guess, that we have some sort of recourse if we have something that happened like last year.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, Jamie, last year we did get some money back, but it was just not a good situation. That firm did not put in a bid this year, and I was kind of glad to see that actually, because we were not satisfied at all with their services.
Sorry, yes, sir.
They're gonna basically be able to furnish inventory list of what they're gonna supply.
I'm sorry?
They're gonna be able to furnish an inventory list of what fireworks they'll supply.
Yeah, in fact, we already have that,
Okay.
and I would make that available to anybody that would like to look at it.
I noticed they also were, did they all kick a little more into it, didn't they?
Yes, thank you for pointing that out, William. One of the offers they gave us is if we would pay for half up front, and if we would sign a multi-year contract with them. This contract is actually asking for 3 years. It does have an out clause. If either one of the parties feels that one or the other did not live up to the contract agreement, there is an out clause for either one of them to get out of the contract. But this is asking for a 3-year contract, and what we will get from that is 25% more than we would get otherwise.
Yes, sir.
In that 3 years, are we putting 11 or 16,000 into the budget for those fireworks for the next 3 years?
11.
Okay.
I'm looking at the contract and I don't see the length. I saw in the memo that it said you got additional fireworks for a 3-year contract, but looking at the contract here, on the draft contract at least, it doesn't say how long the term is for. It only just says that the date is July 4th, 2014.
We'll have to make a change to specifically state what the term is.
It does say that this contract is effective as of, but it doesn't have a termination.
It doesn't say for a number of years.
No, it doesn't.
I've talked to them, and 3 years is what they had in mind, but you are correct, and I will make that correction.
Okay. Yeah, I know when we've done it in the past, we did a 1-year term with 2 available extensions. I assume is that it, or do we say it's a 3-year term and we can just use the out clause if we need to?
Yes.
That's the way we'll do it. All right, can you explain to me, and maybe I'm just reading it wrong in my head, the incentive for additional fireworks for a 3-year contract and early payment of 1/2. Oh, that's what else we have to do. For a 3-year term and early payment of 1/2, we will get the extra. Is that right?
That's 1/2 annually, not 33,000, not half of $33,000. It's half of $11,000
Each year
each year.
to get the extra 1927
Yes.
in additional fireworks. Okay. Confusing me. Yes, sir.
Just to check for understanding, theoretically, in operations, what we should get is a better display, slightly bigger display, and if we're successful with the additional 5,000, we should get a heck of a display, at least for this year, correct? Is that a correct assumption across the board?
That's the intent, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, do they happen to do a video preview of what it's going to look like?
I can check. I've
I mean,
worked for
surely it's
firms
computer
that-
controlled, right?
Right, and they'll identify what shot it is, and then you'll see it. And I will check to see if they have one, if you'd be interested in viewing that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, just to see. But I'm kind of a geek like
You're
that.
just like a big little.
Now,
I
early
wanna
payment
do
of
it just to
1/2
watch,
of
yeah.
the contracted amount of $11,000. That's right. Each year,
Yes, sir.
and at what point each year? When we do, like now, each year? I mean, I guess my question is this: we have a 30 or 60-day out clause, right? Well, if we pay $5,500 up front, and then we decide, and we do it now, would we do it at this point every year?
Or earlier.
Or earlier, and then we decide, no, we want to back out for who knows what reason.
Don't you think we
Do we
wouldn't
forfeit
pay it
that?
if we weren't happy with, I mean, like, we wouldn't pay the company that did it last year again.
I don't know what the early payment, it doesn't say when the early payment is, 90 days early, 6 months early, I don't know. Is it
Jerry
just the
knows.
day before?
The previous companies that we've used in the past, their requirement was by December 31st because they have to put in their orders to China early on. So they wanted the commitment and the 50% down by December 31st. So you would not issue that check in December if you were unhappy in July.
For us, it would be first of the fiscal year, right? It'd be like November.
They didn't care. They don't care what fiscal year we're on. They just wanted theirs to
They
be
want the
right.
check by December 31st. Yeah.
All right, well, we're obviously past December 31st, so I don't know what early payment is.
That's for future, not this one.
It wouldn't include this
Upon
one?
approval of this contract, we'll send them a check.
China sent in a special.
Just curious. Details, that's all. Yes, sir.
I would assume that we would use the out clauses. Gee, the presentation wasn't the way we thought it was going to be. We don't want to use them again. Generally, it wouldn't come up as, oh gosh, we found out this guy's related to somebody we don't like. I mean, it's generally based on the performance of the year. We would know. To me, most scenarios, yeah, they did a good job. We want to bring them back. Yeah, we're going to know right away.
if we would have, for example, say, June 29th, a substantial weather event that just hits our city and maybe a tornado or, God forbid, or something like that, there's an out for that. I mean, it's not something that they're gonna say, well, you bought these fireworks. I mean, they're yours, whether you shoot them or not. And so, yeah, I mean, every company I've ever worked for, there's always that situation that you can't control. You know, it's by God. So
Okay.
that's the only other one I could think of, Jay, that would result in that.
Do we have a motion on the table for this?
I don't think we need a motion. Do we need a motion for this?
Yeah. We gotta approve the contract. Come on.
I'll make a motion that we accept this agreement for the
Second.
fireworks.
Second.
A first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the contract, with one amendment, and that's to include the length, of terms for 3 years? Yes. All in favor of that?
That wasn't a part of it.
What?
Yeah, I would ask that the motion be restated to include that. That's not how the motion, I think that you're right, and I think everybody agrees with that, but I would ask that the motion be
In
restated
making the
from the
motion-
person that made the motion.
In making the motion, it was to include current plus the 2 additional years of the agreement with the out clause.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Are you still seconding
Yes.
that motion?
Yes.
Okay. Probably wasn't the proper Robert's rules of doing it, but we got there. Okay. Any more discussion? Do you have something to say?
No, yes.
Yes. All right. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, now we wrap up for the evening, and it's been a long one, but it's been a productive one. Thank you. Any board member comments? Anybody like, yes, ma'am?
Yes, I have a question maybe for Steve and then a comment. The existing, I'm going to call it path because I know it's not a sidewalk, that goes down from Shadowwood into the practice field that everybody trucks through to get to the park. Do we have any, like, what's the situation there? It's not a sidewalk. Whose responsibility is it?
The developer put it in there for overflow water coming down to that sewer. It's more of a swale to get water that overflows that sewer. Hopefully the water is caught in that swale sidewalk to get it down into our property. I would assume that your next question is, are we ever connect that swale to one of our
Yeah,
trails?
we're talking 20 people a night, easy, using that as a sidewalk, even though that's not what it is. They
Correct.
all think it is.
Correct.
And they're making a natural path and/or spring coming, I foresee people mowing away to the park. So I think we need to consider either getting a quote on what it would cost and considering it for a future CIP or something around I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but it's creating a huge pile of junk at the bottom of it that people are walking through that has snakes and all kinds of junk. And with the amount of traffic that's going through there, I'm not sure it's the best solution. I know it's not our problem. Maybe it is. Maybe we can make it our problem. I don't know.
That's one of the, I mean, if you all would like to throw that in as a CIP project for a future year, that's your prerogative. But,
I mean, do you have a good way to give us an estimate on what that would cost?
I can just, yeah, I can get the linear footage and,
Okay.
yeah, I can get you some type of an estimate. Now, here's the second thing, we might have to check with codes on whether we can even connect up to a swale as a drainage ditch, because that might be a liability issue there.
Well, that's one of my concerns, and I guess I'm not sure where our responsibility lies, but the public is using that as a public traffic way to our park.
Correct.
So what liability do we have to make sure that, or what recourse do we have to go back to the developer and go fix it? I mean, is that a city council issue? I mean, where do we go with this?
We'll take this under advisement and get back to you at the
Okay.
next meeting.
Because, I mean, it's got increasing, now that there's 10 houses there, and everybody, I mean, the people that are using the park are people that are using that as a pathway is the entire Shadowwood group and the next one over, so. And I'm hearing it from everybody, so, thank you.
Any more comments from the left side? Yes, Mr. Holman.
Well, in anticipation of this being my last meeting, because I won't be here on the 7th, I'll be out of town. It's been a great 2 years. Enjoyed my time here. I think.
Where are you
that-
going?
Well, we'll have to wait and see if anybody mounts a strong write-in campaign yet, and I'll let you know. I may be back. You never know. But I think that the work that you all are doing, I think it's really intensified in the past 6 months. I think we're starting to see progress. I think people are getting excited on this board and within the city. And I think I've stated before, you know, what do you spend your time doing as a person? You spend a third of your day at work, and you spend a third of your day asleep. What do you do with that third? Well, most of the time in this part of the country, when the weather's good, we're out with our kids or we're in the parks. And so this drives right to the heart of quality of life and what we do as people and what we enjoy. And the work that you're doing, I'm going to see the other side of it now for the first time. And keep doing what you're doing. You guys are great people, and you got the best interest of everybody at heart. The staff is working hard for you. And if I can be any assistance at all from the other side, please don't hesitate to let me know. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Yes?
Just wish to say thank you to Jay for the time that he has spent here and the time that he spent on the other, P&Z. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
No? Anybody on this side? Any comments this evening?
I've got one.
Yes, Tim Wood.
I would, two things. Again, I want to echo what Member Holman said earlier to Member Eastwood. I appreciate the work and the effort you put into the plotting of the disc golf course. And I know that it's, just by looking at it, it took a lot of time and probably some frustration. So thank you for saving the money. And Jay, you stole my thunder. I was going to say that unless someone mounts one massive write-in campaign, this could be, but does not have to be, your last meeting with us. If you find that you don't have enough meetings with City Council, I don't see too many lines for these seats out there.
Let's
so-
bring back the park board liaison position on city council. Force him to come back every month.
But I do want to say thank you for your efforts and work with us on this board. And we will be taking your ears up as you asked us to, I'm sure, in the future. So thank you again, and good luck on city council.
All right, I'll finish up tonight. I will say good luck to you. We'll be in touch. I will try to carry your torch forward for from this perspective for competitive soccer and bringing it back. It was not in vain, I hope. So me and Mr. McLean, I kind of right his ear a little bit about it. So we'll keep that moving forward, if you don't mind.
If John McClain can't save the day, who can?
That's right. Yippee-ki-yay. I would also like to thank Eric for your work on this. I know this is a passion of yours, and it really does show. And this, I believe, it certainly helps me. It probably helps everybody really get an idea of kind of what we've talked about. You know, we kind of said, well, here, and we'll go here, but this puts a picture, you know, to it. And I really appreciate it. That's good work. Thank you for your time and effort. I also want to thank, you know, we don't really thank you staff guys. I don't know if there's a staff appreciation day, but I've never been to one. But I want to thank all you guys for you do, and tell the other staff people who aren't here, we appreciate what they do for the city too. You guys do work hard, and you do a lot for this city. So I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody here appreciates it, and I'm sure the citizens appreciate it too. Although you probably only hear complaints, they do appreciate it. Trust me. Steve, you know what? We never really talked about it. How's the new maintenance building working out? Is it working out well? I mean, you guys have been there for just over a year now, right?
Yeah, just about a year. It works out very well.
It does?
Yeah, it stores many of our tractors, grass seed, fertilizer, and there's so much more room to actually work on things and get projects done in the old one. Basically, we have a place that we can do carpentry and stuff like that, so it's
Good.
definitely worked out.
Good. I'm glad. All right. Let's see. Okay, now I got 4 things I want to talk about because we were talking about CIP, and I don't know if these fall in CIP or not, but I did go over to Rec Parks today to look at the fencing for the ball fields. Got in the car, had a little extra time to kill, so I drove around that south end parking lot, all right, and as I left today. The striping on the parking lot is pretty hideous. I mean, it's not hideous bad. It's hideous that it's really dim. You really can't see them anymore. That should be a project we should, I don't know if we can tackle that in-house, but that's something we should look to do. And one small note, which may not be as important, but, and maybe it knows up at night, when you're driving in and you're making that right turn across, you know, the drive towards the south parking lot, and you got that little island that sticks out on the corner, is it possible to put yellow paint around that corner so people can see it? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Also in that south parking lot, I got two more for the south parking lot. One, it's just an idea. I did see the fire pit over in that corner, and I saw some bleachers around it, but between it and the trail going farther to the east, it's just grass. Is there any possibility, and I don't know if it makes any sense, if we need to extend the parking lot, extend it there in that direction for extra room? Because we are talking about possibly adding a couple more soccer fields. And if we do, I assume we'll have more people. Just a thought, just throwing it out there. Don't act upon it tomorrow. Quit furrowing your brow. And the other two are those drainage culverts in that southeast corner, that east-southeast. Can we do something with that? Because I see that one, mud has basically just taken over the trail. And I know we probably talked about this for years, but.
No, there's only one there. There was none put in there when the parking lot was in. They just put cuts in the parking lot so water would run through there. An Eagle Scout came in last year and actually put a drainage in there and took it underneath the trail so the scum would not build up on there. And when he did it, the grass did not have time to grow and hold, so that his dirt has come out. But we were just talking about that yesterday, and we'll be filling that
Well,
back
there's
in.
two over there. There's a little short one right in the very corner of the parking lot. That's with the mud.
There's two inlets. There's two outlets for water to get out of there. There's only one drain.
Oh, that's what I was saying, two outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one's the rock, the bigger, wider one with the rock in it, right? Yeah, that one didn't look too bad, but it was on my brain. The other one was right here. That's an outlet, and that's an outlet. And this one here has mud has overtaken that trail. That must be where the grass didn't grow. The last thing I want to talk about, a security plan. What was it, 5 years ago we put up some security cameras, and we always talked about adding more and extending more, but I'm wondering if we should even take it farther and just come up with just an overall security plan for staff that's out there, people that are out there. You know, everybody just says call 911, but you know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if it's worth the time or effort. I think security cameras are worth the extra effort.
Two things.
Yes.
They are looking at a security camera system for up here, and according to the IT guy, that they are also considering additional cameras for the park maintenance facilities and the concession areas. The other thing is we just got a brand-new emergency management guy, and he would be a great one to hit up to develop an emergency action plan for Recreation Park and Memorial Park when we have the festival there. So that's something that I could bring to his attention and definitely come back to you with if we could get something. There may be something already in the books, but I'm not aware of it, so I will first look there and then get with Ryan. His name's Ryan Murdoch, and I will get with him.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking as we go through this and as we move forward with additional stuff at Hawk Ridge Park or any other park, I mean, I think that should be a part of the discussion. If we throw a dog park and it's feasible, we should probably have security cameras on there. If an incident comes about, then, you know, we kind of have an idea what's going on, not he said, she said. I don't know where we're going to do it or where we're going to put it, but it shouldn't be too expensive to do that these days. Just my thoughts, just getting them all out this month.
It's a good point, Brian. I mean, one of the things I look at from Recreation Park, which is one of our oldest ones, there's one main paved point of ingress and egress. That gets blocked off. We can't get a fire truck. You know, you have to get a fire truck. You have to go around through the neighborhood and come through the trees. It's the only way you get through there. So that's a good point to consider going forward. It's not something that was thought about 20 and 30 years ago, and it's something that should be in today's environment. I agree. It's a good point.
I'm done. Yes, I'm done.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I'll second the motion.
That means it's officially over. Any more discussion? Anybody? All right. A first and a second. All in favor? Unanimous. We are adjourned. The 14th what? Striping the parking lot.